You're listening to the Wellbeing in Medicine podcast, helping physicians and others in medicine thrive. More than simply supporting your wellness, you will be empowered to take back your agency and optimize your charting, mindset, and more. I'm your host, pediatrician and life coach, Dr. Ryan Stedrick. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Wellbeing in Medicine podcast. I'm super excited to be here with you today because this is the first time in a while that I've been here on the podcast encouraging you and helping you thrive. I've taken time to help my family thrive, and I've been doing some work with YouTube and short form videos, and maybe you've seen some of those, and I'll leave the links in the description below this podcast so that you can follow me and help encourage me and encourage yourself and others to thrive as well. So I wanted to share today a little bit about what I've been up to and about the upcoming cohort of Charting Mastery that I'll be opening in a few short days. I put together a training to help you understand how you can get your charting from chaos to complete. It's called Finish Charting Faster, and you can sign up at chartingmastery.net. So I did a live on YouTube, and I wanted to share that with you now to be able to encourage you to invest right where you are, and so that you can take that next step forward for yourself to get your charting done while you're at work, because you matter. You really matter. And so this is a little bit longer episode, and I wanted to just bring this to you so that you could take that next step, forward, because it's so easy to let ourselves stay where we are, to not take that step to grow. I find that for myself that sometimes change is hard. Change is hard when it involves getting out of my comfort zone, when it involves doing something different. And yet, I've often found that when I take that risk, when I invest in myself, when I invest in relationships, when I invest in skills, I'm able to see dividends of that in the months, weeks, even years going forward. So if this is you, stick around and listen up, because I want this to really help you. Thank you so much for listening. Let's jump right in. Are you still charting after dinner? You're not alone, and it's not your fault. Your charts won't fix yourselves. They won't fix themselves. But tonight, I'm going to show you how to fix them. If you're tired of working all day and then spending your evenings in the EHR, then this is for you. I want you to know that you matter, and that you can do this, that you can make a change, because I have been there. So I'm Dr. Ryan Stedrick, pediatrician, host of the Wellbeing in Medicine podcast, and I would love to help you. If you are like, hey, this is me, and I want to get in on this free training that you're doing next week, August 11th, 9 p.m. Eastern, you can click the link in the chat or go to chartingmastery.net. But I wanted to take a moment tonight and share a little bit about some of the things that have been impactful for me, a little bit about my story, about why I'm so passionate about helping other docs and others in medicine, nurse practitioners, PAs, nurses, medical students, residents, and fellows, about why I'm so passionate about helping you get your charting done. And so if this resonates with you, I'd love for you to engage tonight, to leave a comment in the chat, to leave a question, something else. I want this to be interactive. And send me a message. Go to the link in my bio and you can get in touch, and I would love to share more. But a little bit about me. So I'm a general pediatrician by training. I did pediatrics residency after doing medical school, and I thought, okay, I'm pretty well prepared. It was a little bit challenging when I realized it's like, oh, my training didn't necessarily prepare me as well for outpatient as it did for inpatient. And so I was really thankful that I had colleagues that had a lot of experience that were alongside me in my clinic. And so this was really important for me to be able to say, I can do this because I have the support that I need around me. Some of you may be feeling like, hey, I don't know how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to make it through these next couple months, these next few weeks, this next day in clinic, in the OR, in the hospital, because your charting is really overwhelming. I know because I've been there. I was bringing charts home evenings, weekends, and it was so much. I was jumped straight into my clinic jobs out of residency. It was where I had done my continuity clinic, and I found myself staying late frequently. I found myself doing my charts in our free text EMR, and while I was able to see the patients, I was still finding my flow, and I was finding I was bringing charts home. I was bringing them home evenings, weekends. I didn't have them all done. I saw a couple colleagues that had all their charting done, and I was like, this is really weird. Like, how can you do that? And so I was like, this is really hard, but I was excited about being able to care for my patients, be able to really jump into my practice. And yet, one of our call requirements, you could either do some time in our urgent care center, or you could do a week of rounding on the newborn hospitalist team. And so I chose to do that. It was more similar to what I had done in residency. And even though it meant that I'd have a stretch of 10 days in a row, I thought, this isn't so bad. It's kind of like residency, right? And so I made it through this stretch, but it was hard. And ultimately, I don't think it was that stretch per se alone. I think it was that stretch on top of taking boards, transitioning EMRs, getting up to speed with my clinical flow, and bringing all my charts, many of them at least, so many charts home, evenings and weekends. I felt like I couldn't recharge. I was exhausted. And my wife and I were sitting on the couch one night, and she said to me, something has to change. She said, something has to change. And she was so right. Because I was just like, I don't know how this is going to work, what I'm going to do. And I had to take a real look in the mirror to say, where am I at? And what do I need? What do we need as a couple, as a family? And so you may be there right now thinking, I have had it. There is so much that is bureaucratic red tape, prior authorizations, fighting with insurance companies, fighting with your system, fighting for declining reimbursements. And yet you're like, I know I went into medicine to help people. I know I did this because I am passionate about providing good care for the patient populations that I get to care for. I remember one of my mentors in med school, he said, make sure that when you're deciding on a specialty, because I was deciding between family medicine, internal medicine, pediatrics combined training, and pediatrics. And he said, and he was med peds trained, but practicing as a pediatric hospitalist. He said, make sure that you really like the patient population and the conditions that you're going to typically see in that group. So in pediatrics, that's often behavioral health, well child checks, basic rashes, and some of those type of things that you'll deal with across the span of newborn all the way up to 21 years old. If you're a pediatric pulmonologist, maybe there's going to be a lot of asthma, maybe cystic fibrosis, chronic cough. There could be any number of things. If you're a cardiologist, maybe it's more chest pain, heart failure, arrhythmias. And yet, this this passion, this passion for patient care, for helping other doctors, helping other patients, sometimes other doctors. I've had the privilege of caring for patients across parental occupations and backgrounds, but to be able to say, this is why I went into medicine, to be able to say, I care about you. And you care so much, and you care about being excellent and doing a great job. Because quite literally, lives are on the line. And you know that. And so when these things come up, when you think about how you're doing with medicine, with charting, where you're at, it matters to look at those underlying motivations. To say, I know this is why I'm here. And yet these other things, this paperwork, these inbox messages seem to be getting in the way. And so I want you to take a moment and think, why are you here? Why are you in medicine? Why did you go into medicine in the first place? And this matters a lot, to just slow down and to consider, why are you here, before we get into how you're going to move forward. You know deep down that there's a bigger purpose. It can't just be for the money. It can't just be for whatever it is, whether that's recognition, success in academics and publishing and teaching, winning awards. There has to be something deeper that drew you to 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, and 3 or more years of training postgraduate. This matters because your why, this core motivation, matters, because your patients matter, and because you matter. And I start with that because it's so critical to understand, where are you? Who are you? Why do you do what you do? Because when you find yourself in these situations where the charting feels overwhelming, you're going to have to look and say, how am I going to keep moving forward? How am I going to get the help that I need for my mind, my body, my emotions, my charting, my workflows, to be able to care for patients and to care for yourself? And not just for today, not just for this week, this month, but for a whole career. If that's what you choose, to practice medicine for the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years, that you can do it in a way that's sustainable. And so that's why I'm so passionate, because I've been through burnout. I've had to figure out, like, where am I? Who am I? What do I want to be about? And what am I not going to be about? What am I not going to do? To be able to set that vision of, where am I going to be? Of how am I going to get through these things? How am I going to get the tools and the mindset and the workflows that I need to be able to move forward? It's so important. It's so important because that's how you get the sustainability. It's not just hoping that the system will make things better for you, because if you haven't noticed, many of these things, these systems issues that you find yourself in, how many patients you're asked to see, how much time you have with them, the resources you do or don't have, those are often driven by policy change, by medicine being a business by things that are, frankly, at times, many times outside of your control. You can advocate, and I encourage advocating vigorously with data to be able to say, this is why I think we should do XYZ. This is why I want to, for me, it was to be all at one clinic where I was seeing more patients. It was closer to home, but it was also more aligned with my passion for speaking Spanish with my patients. And so eventually I was able to advocate for that successfully, but it certainly took time and I wasn't guaranteed that. But I chose to stay even as I knew that I might have to make a change, whether it's saying I'm going to decrease my time here or I might have to look at other positions. I ended up staying and it was a good fit for me and I know that I'm where I'm supposed to be. But I had to get those skills, get that confidence to be able to say, no, this is what I need for myself and how that aligns with the organizational vision, mission, goals. And so as you think about where you're at, as you think about how things are like, I don't know how this is going to go when I speak up. No, it matters because you can make a change. You can make a difference for yourself, for your patients, because if you don't, you're just going to stay in the same spot. You're going to stay in the same rut, doing the same things over and over and over. It sounds kind of depressing, and that's where I was. I was doing the same thing and bringing the same charts home week after week after week. And so if you're looking for some actionable change, some actionable things that you can do, I want to share with you a few of my top tips that are part of my charting mastery framework. What provides the basis for next week's webinar class and undergirds my charting mastery program, a 6-week group coaching program for physicians and others in medicine to help you finish your charting faster and get home sooner for what matters most to you. So there's 3 pillars inside there. Know your why is one of them, but I want to give you a few of the tools from that to be able to say, hey, how can you get some quick wins to start implementing today? Because I don't want you to be stuck any longer than you have to. I want this to be that new opportunity to step forward, to say, I want to make a change. I think I can try this. Let's do this. So first, I want to talk about batching charts, because when you're going through your day, there are so many things competing for your attention. And so I found myself bouncing between charts, inbox, refills, paperwork. And so now I try and look and see like, hey, do I have any outstanding charts from yesterday when I finished up last evening? Are there some of those that, oh, I was waiting for the resident to finish their note and here I can addend those. Let me get those couple of them done before I even get into the rest of my inbox. This change saved me minutes every day. And again, if this sounds helpful, my free training at chartingmastery.net will go into some more specifics to go deeper. So batching charts to be able to say, hey, at the end of the morning, I'm going to do a couple of these. I'm going to do my paperwork for 10 minutes now, do a bunch, and then recycle back, because it's so easy to say, well, I'm going to do this. And then you open it and then you're like, I don't really want to do more of that. That one's going to take a while to go over. And then you don't do hardly any of them. You're like, no, that's the hard one. And I find myself when I do this more likely to be clicking around, distracted, just like you do on your phone, but you're in your inbox and your EMR. And so it can be helpful to batch them, to say, I'm going to do all of the result notes or all of the patient callbacks or all of the staff messages and go through and zero those out. It doesn't mean you have to be inbox zero about everything, but if you can do the principle of touch it once, it can make a real big difference in saying, where am I and how can I get these quick wins that help me as I do this batching? Sometimes as well, I'll do this with my paperwork. I'll say, I'm going to take each of these and put in a pile of outside documentation to review that I just need to sign that I've reviewed it. There's ones that I may need to provide a signature and need to go back to my staff for faxing. There's also a pile that I may have to look up where something is in the chart to say, like, what's that diagnosis for the early intervention program? That I have to go look back and say, hey, they're doing a daycare physical. I need to look at my last note. When was it? What was abnormal? What was normal? Are there any medications that I need to document? So these things all go into batching because then I can say, all right, these are the ones that I'm going to sign and put in the to scan. These are the ones that I'm going to sign and put for faxing. And these are the ones that I actually need to go into individual charts because if I have a big pile of papers, it's really important to be able to say, all right, I can get this done now, but I can also do it in a way that reduces the cognitive overhead that I need to be able to say, all right, I can get this done. So first win for today is about batching your charts and your paperwork. Second is to do some documentation in the room. Now, I was a little bit skeptical about this at first to think, how can I get all my charting done as I go? And it's like an emergency. I have to go to the next room. And occasionally it is. And for some of you, you may be going to an emergency in the next room. And in that case, you need to go to the next room. But while you're there, take a moment, get the chart open, and document something. Sentence fragments, whether it's something you put in quotes, what the patient said, put something down for the HPI, and something brief if you have extra thoughts about the plan, about what you're putting for your assessment, about the things that you're considering in your differential diagnosis. These things will help you immensely when you go back to finish the rest of your note if you're not able to do it in real time in the room. Now, one thing that I found particularly helpful around doing my documentation in the room is going through some of the things that I have in my template, but then I'll make sure that as I'm going, I try and put in some of the orders. So I try and put in if they need an inhaler, if they need vaccines, if they need a referral, if they need a school note, now that school's starting back up. I'll put those in, and when I'm ready to sign things, I'll go ahead and do that. I'll review with the patient, hey, this is what we talked about today, and I signed your orders. And I let them know, hey, I signed your orders, and I'm going to finish the rest of my note really quick, if that's possible. But it's helpful because then I'm able to be fully present, my staff can get things ready, and I can finish more of my note in the room. It helps me reduce the amount of times that I'm asked to send Tylenol after the vaccines for my patient. It helps reduce the amount of additional things that they said, oh, you forgot to refill this other medication for me. If we talk about, hey, this is what I'm refilling, these are the referrals I'm sending, it gives that feedback loop in the moment, but it also is an opportunity to say, hey, to my elementary school aged patients, do you guys like more homework? And they inevitably shake their heads and say no. And I say, well, neither do I. Neither do the doctors. We want to be done too. So these things matter as well, because then I'm able to get my notes done as I go. And even if you get most of it done, it's really, really encouraging when you're able to just say at the end of the morning, bloop, bloop, bloop. I'm just going to go ahead and sign. Oh, just need a little bit more here, sign. And then be able to say, hey, I'm going to lunch. I got all my stuff done and I'll be back. And to be able to have a lunch. That was one of the biggest things when I was a first year attending, where I often didn't get a lunch. My morning would run over. It'd be 12:15, 12:30, and then my first patient would be there a little bit early. And sometimes I had to quick rush, grab something to eat it really quick, and get back only a couple minutes after the first patient appointments was supposed to start. And it just felt like I didn't get a break at all. It was really demoralizing. I'm sure many of you feel this way too, where you're getting calls and pages and secure messages in your system, and it feels like it never ends. And yet, many times you probably could take a couple minutes and be still, to be quiet, to take a moment for yourself in the middle of the day when you're in between things, where you don't answer the messages, where even if it's 5 minutes, if you normally get back to folks in a certain amount of time after they've paged you or messaged you, like you may just need to take 5 minutes to use the bathroom, to warm up your food, to eat something, to nourish your body so that you are able to keep going. Because you're not a robot, you're not a machine, you are a human being, and you matter. And so this is part of how you can say, even in high stress situations, or if you say, hey, to one of your colleagues, hey, if so-and-so calls, like, I'll be right back. If this happens, can you listen out for my patient if the nurse needs something? I'll be right back. It's okay to do this. And so first, I want to encourage you to batch your charting. I want to encourage you to do some documentation in the room. And then as you go, as you have some of these moments, whether it's at the end of the day, right before lunch, take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and sign those couple of notes. Sign those additional orders that came through requesting medication refills. Just knock it out. Take a time-limited period of time so that you can make a difference for yourself. And these things really start to add up, because it's not just these tools, it's also the mindset and thinking about how these things matter for building your confidence. We have a lot of perfectionism drilled into us, that hidden curriculum in medicine where it's the things that end up helping the system because we're doing things that we think need to happen, and they do need to happen, but the system needs to support that, because typically many healthcare systems are sustained by the altruism of those providing the care. Let me repeat that. Many times, healthcare systems are sustained in large part by the altruism of those providing the care. The docs, the nurses, the other staff who are like, no, this is what needs to happen. And they go above and beyond to make it happen. And yet, we need more staff. We need more support. We need more resources. And yet, sometimes they don't come. They don't come for a while. They may not come at all. And these are things to think about when you think, okay, am I going to be in this, am I going to be in this position? Am I going to stay? And you might say no. And that's okay to say, hey, I need to make a change for me, for my family, for my patients. And if you're going to stay, it's okay to say, hey, this needs to change. It's okay to say, I'm going to do my part, but I'm not going to do all the things for everyone. I am not infinite. And so as you think through these things, the mindset matters so much. And I thought that it was just me when I was going through burnout. I thought that I was the problem. But ultimately, I realized things had to change with my mindset and with my workflows. And so that's part of what led me to eventually develop my charting mastery system. I didn't call it that at first, but this was about helping me protect my time to be able to finish my charting faster and get home sooner for my wife and now kids, and for doing things outside of medicine, for volunteering in the community, and for now investing in my physical fitness, which I didn't do for a long time in my adult life. And so I put together this framework, and it's the charting mastery framework, which is about taking your charting from chaos to complete with 3 pillars. First is to know your why. Second is to fill your toolbox. And third is to find your flow. And so knowing your why, like we talked about already, as far as your priorities, your driving force, why are you doing what you're doing? And so it's about looking at how your charting can connect with what matters most, so that you know that you're doing this for your family, for your margin, for your own well-being. Because when you know your why, your change, those things that you want to do differently, that change sticks so much better. Filling your toolbox, the second part, it involves using templates, batching, using text expanders. These things aren't shortcuts. They're about what help you get these things done so that you don't have to sacrifice your evenings. And so first you have know your why. Second, fill your toolbox. There's those mental things and there's the physical things. And the third is finding your flow. It means that you have consistent things that you do on a regular basis. It includes those things like batching, like doing your pre-charting, where you look at the schedule and decide on, hey, what are things that we know in advance would be helpful for my staff to do, for me to remember, so that I don't have to search the chart in the moment when I've already put some of these things in place. Finding your flow really is how you allow yourself to stay present, to be able to connect with your patients, to be able to do the good care that you know how to do in a repeatable, sustainable way. So that even when extra problems are brought to the visit, even when patients come late, when more than usual need an interpreter, you can still say, hey, I'm going to show up for you. I'm going to give you my full attention and good care because I have the tools that I need, and I have the flow, the workflow that I need, and feel confident in it so that I can take great care of you. And so if you want me to walk you through this even more step by step, I want you to join my free webinar by going to chartingmastery.net. And the first 5 who join my Charting Mastery program, again, 6 weeks, spread over about 2 months, and you'll also get access to my Charting Mastery course with the videos and the private podcast feed. So the first 5 who join after attending the webinar, either live or via the replay, first 5 to join will get a private one-on-one coaching session with me to be able to dive deep into these things, to say, hey, where are you? What do you need specifically to help you take that first step into being done with your charts at the end of the day so that you can go home for what matters to you. And so if there's something right now that you know is like, hey, this is the one thing that I can see that's either slowing me down right now, or you're just like, this is the one thing that I've just had it with, I want you to drop that in the chat. send me a message, and I would love to hear about where you're at. Because it's not just about tips and tricks, about quick wins. It's about a sustainable mindset shift, about addressing some of those things, that perfectionism that was really helpful for getting your first H&P, your first history and physical, that first note that you did back in second year of medical school. You went to the hospital, you met with this patient, they said, yes, we can chat and take my history and do your physical exam. And it took an hour to do the history and physical, and it took even longer to write that up. That first H&P, it was perfect. And then you're like, I have to honor this rotation. I have to keep growing and learning. And it was kind of a mesh of excellence and perfectionism that kind of got mixed in a way that served you in medical school many times. But as an attending, as a resident, you have to get an adequate note done. And it just has to be done. Even in medical school, if you're spending so much time on one note, you can't go see the next consult. And so I want to encourage you to join me August 11th for the free training to help you get your charting done faster. 1 hour, we'll go deeper in the framework and your charting reset, because if you are struggling, I want you to know that there is hope, that there is an opportunity to get the extra training, the extra investment in you, so that you can get back to saying, hey, this is challenging, but it's rewarding. I'm able to get my things done in this season, in this environment where it's not paper charts anymore. It's a lot more templates and checkboxes and things that I have to do, a lot of information overload. And frankly, it sets you up for this overwhelm. But if you're able to have the tools, you're connecting to your why, your motivation, you're able to find those workflows, you're able to actually thrive in medicine. Because there's that one colleague who seems to have it all together. And maybe they've been through a similar journey as I have. Maybe they're just mailing it in and they don't actually do adequate documentation or what you consider to be sufficient care. And so if you're comparing to others, many times that doesn't help you. It can help you grow, certainly. But if you're saying, well, I can't do this because, it sometimes becomes an opportunity to hold on to what's current, to hold on to what's safe. And I found myself doing that in a variety of areas. Even the charting at first, I found one of the senior colleague who was able to get his charts done more consistently. He would actually go see the patient. He was efficient. He would come out and quick write a note. It was to the point. And so he got his done by doing it after each patient outside the room. But I found that by doing concurrent charting, by leveraging the typing skills, by trying some of the AI scribe things, and it's not a replacement for physicians providing that clinical input, that clinical reasoning and synthesis. They're just not there yet to be able to take that. And so even if you have access to some of these other technology tools, whether dictation, AI, scribes, and so forth, you're still going to have to find how these tools can be integrated, how you can grow in using them by implementing these things, by looking at your mindset, looking at these tools, your workflows. And so I want you to know that I'm here for you. I'm open to hearing from you You can send me a message. You can drop them in the chat. And I would love to see you thrive. I want to see you get your stuff done so that maybe like me, you're able to do a big fitness challenge. I've now run 3 half marathons after not being active much at all, even though I told my patients, hey, you should try and do healthy habits, be more active, eat healthy. And even after doing my first 2 half marathons, I found, okay, my weight went up more because I was being undisciplined in my eating, particularly at night around snacks. I'd eat my kids' snacks. We'd get more, but I'd eat them. And so I've had to look at myself and say, how can I continue to grow? How can I get the input, the support, the accountability that I need? And so that's why I'm here offering that to you with this opportunity to join me on August 11th, 9 p.m. Eastern, by going to chartingmastery.net. Again, the first 5 to sign up for the program, from that, we'll get a one-on-one session with me. And I want you to know that because you matter, because your patients matter, because human beings matter, this is worthy of your investment. Even you being here with me right now is an investment of your time. And you know that time is our most precious resource. It is a gift. Each moment is a gift. And as most of you know from your time in medicine and potentially personally, there are hard things. And I want you to be able to be present for the people and for the moments that matter most to you. And so if you are feeling that same pain of the overwhelm of hundreds of charts in your inbox, of messages continuing to flood in, of your evenings and weekends being consumed with the backlog of charting as you get these deficiency notices, know that there is hope, that you can make a change. You can join me and invest in yourself. I have free charting tips and a mini course, but this is the opportunity that you have to take that deep dive, to invest deeply so that you can make a change that will yield hours in the future, hours that you won't get back. And so if this is you, I would love for you to join me in Charting Mastery. Go to chartingmastery.net. And I would love to see you thrive for your sake, for those around you, and for your patients. I'm so thankful for each of you and just want to encourage you to follow and to subscribe to the channel here and to join me August 11th, 9 p.m. Eastern, to help you finish your charting faster. Thanks so much for joining me and have a great night. Thank you so much for joining me here on another episode of the Wellbeing in Medicine podcast. I hope this training today has been an encouragement to you to help you see how you could take your next step in thriving in medicine. And so if this is you, if you feel that pain, if you feel that overwhelm from all those charts, I'd encourage you to go ahead and sign up for the webinar coming up by going to chartingmastery.net. And I would love to see you there and to maybe welcome some of you who are like, hey, no, this is where I am really struggling. I've got some of those free resources I mentioned, and I've also got a really exciting opportunity to work with a few of you inside Charting Mastery. So I wanted to thank you for joining me again here on the Wellbeing in Medicine podcast. I want to encourage you to take that next step and thrive. And now for our important disclaimer. Dr. Ryan Stejink is a practicing general pediatrician, but the MedEdWell podcast does not reflect the views, opinions, or belief of his employer,
nor his affiliated university. Additionally, the MedEdWell podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered advice regarding financial, legal, student loan, medical, or any other specific topic. In such a case, you should seek consultation with a certified professional in that particular area. Again, thanks for joining us on the MedEdWell podcast, and have a great day.